What's that? You want some processing? What'll it be? Word processing or audio processing? We've got them both. Tech Throwback starts next. Hello and welcome to another edition of Tech Throwback, the program that brings you the techno trends from way back when. I'm your host, Bill Robert, and today we're going to take a look at one of the other players in the Intellivision emulator sweepstakes, also a sweet audio processor from Yamaha. But first, while we're on the subject of processing, let's do processing of a different type, as in type. That's today's senior system. Once upon a time, we had the typewriter. I know many of you out there are like, what's a typewriter? No, a typewriter was the thing when you wanted to write a letter or a document or some type. Basically, it was a device. You put paper in, you had a QWERTY keyboard, and you basically typed everything out. And then at some point, computers started to do that stuff for us, and we had programs like Microsoft Word, Google Docs, and things like that handling all of our documents for us. But there was a time between typewriters and computer word processors. And at the time, there were some dedicated word processors too. I remember Digital had a couple of word processor terminals out for a while. But this one is truly unique. This is the Brother WP1400D. And what this is an actual word processor. It looks like a typewriter, but actually it's kind of an amalgam between the two. And I believe Smith Corona had some similar units out there. But let's open this up and see what we've got here. But before we take a look at the Brother WP1400D, let's take a look at the Tech Throwback white paper. The Brother WP1400D word processor was released in 1994 by Brother Corporation. The company is based in Japan, but the U.S. headquarters is in Bridgewater, New Jersey. The unit, when it came out, sold for around $200. It printed on paper using a daisy wheel, much like a lot of electronic typewriters at the time, and also even some later computer printers as well. The unit had features like a spell check, a grammar check, and an onboard electronic thesaurus. First of all, you notice, yeah, it looks a lot like a typewriter, but then you have this protective shield here, which guards not only the keyboard, but the LCD display screen that comes with the unit. So what I'm going to do here is just pop this up. Up comes the cover, and there you go. So that is your keyboard here. Pretty big keyboard, actually, for a typewriter unit. And also your LCD display. So this is basically, this will allow you to edit your documents, take a look at them. But in addition, this thing had, in fact, you see right on here, it says grammar check. This thing had grammar check, it had spell check, it had a thesaurus. So it was basically almost like Microsoft Word and Smith Corona typewriter had a baby, and this would be it. Because you've got the electronic portion of it, you've got the display, you've got the keyboard, the electronic keyboard and everything, and you've got a lot of options like file and save and menu and things like that. So those are part of modern word processors. But then you had, obviously, you had the paper bale, you had the platen, and the parts of the old school typewriter too. So even though it was new stuff, you still had basically you put the paper in, and then just turn the platen, and out came your paper. Now, one of the interesting things is, and I mentioned before some of the computer accoutrements, also you might notice this has got a floppy drive. One of the things with, like, if I wanted to type different copies of the same document once upon a time, basically you'd actually either have to use carbon paper, remember carbon paper, or you'd have to type the same thing over and over. But here you can actually save stuff and recall it for later, which is pretty cool too. Now, I'm going to go back and start this here. This is going to be a thing where normally when I'm doing a demo, I actually have the camera over here, and I like people to see what's on the screen. In this case, for me to do a kind of half-crouch typewriter thing there would be ridiculous. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my trusty-dusty smartphone here, and while I'm doing this, I'm also going to take some images of the screen. So from time to time, you'll see me come up, and you'll see me just do, hey, look at this, and just to kind of give you an idea of what the picture looks like. And of course, with the magic of electronic editing, we can cut all this stuff in later. So first of all, we go to the on-off switches right here. The first thing you're going to hear is the element go back and forth. With electronic typewriters, you had a number of different methods. You had, like with standard typewriters, where you had each arm for the individual character, and then it would have the little striker arm that comes up depending on what you hit. And then things like the IBM Selectric, they had the ball where you basically had all the characters just on one ball. And when you hit the key, it would turn that thing on the ball and And then one of the other ones, which I believe this one works with too, it's called a daisy wheel, where you basically have this big wheel with all the little characters, and then what it does is when you hit a key, it spins to the right character, and then and basically there's a striker that hits it against the paper. So basically, bang, bang. Except a little faster than that, obviously. So, and then obviously once you get to computer printers, you started to get into dot matrix, and obviously, you know, what we see now with the laser and the inkjet printers. But back in these days, you either had the individual arms, or you had the ball like this electric, or you had the daisy wheel. This is one of the daisy wheel varieties. All right, what I'm going to do is turn this on again, basically, to kind of show you what happens. And what I'm going to do is, I mentioned I'm going to be shooting the video here, so we'll go here, and you're going to watch the screen boot up. And you would type your letters in. And I'm just hitting random gibberish letters for now, just to really so you can see that. And once again, this is one of those things where, depending on your lighting situation too, sometimes the screen can be really hard to see. With some of these LCD screens, you know, you really had to kind of tweak it, and then if the lighting was different, you really had to tweak it. And the lettering is pretty small too, so you know that can be kind of hard to see. I mean, some of these were backlit, but in this particular case here, it's just coming up as a really kind of interesting. So then what you would do is basically you would go over here, and you had your menu key and your file key, and you would hit file to print everything out. And once again, you could save everything to this floppy drive right here. And when all was said and done, once you had everything in here, you could check for grammar, you could check for spelling. If you were using a certain word too much, or maybe wanted to use more of a 50-cent word, you could look it up in the thesaurus, put the whole document together, bang it out, you're all set. You're all done. And this was an interesting intermediate step. Obviously, once computers became even more commonplace, you know, these kind of went by the wayside, because really, you know, you get a better look at a computer screen and just get everything in a document right there. Plus, you can add attachments, you can add pictures and things like that. So this was kind of like the halfway point between typewriters and computer word processing. But like I said, you know, there are a few companies that came out with devices like this, and fascinating for what they are, but as much as I go retro tech, if it's a choice of this or a PC with Word, give me the PC with Word, or just give me a darn typewriter, one or the other. Because sometimes when you add more functions, yeah, you can look at stuff here and you can edit and you can do things, but it's more complicated. You've got to do different keystrokes, and all of a sudden, you know, in the words of the late, and I say late because James Doohan is no longer with us, the late Lieutenant Commander Montgomery Scott, the more they overthink the plumbing, the easier it is to stop up the drain. So, you know, there you go. But once again, this is actually my wife's unit, and she said this got her through college, so I can't rag on it too much, because obviously, you know, my wife's pretty important to me, and glad that she was able to use this to get her through college. But once again, just, you know, it's kind of one of those interesting halfway points, but, you know, from there on in, you know, computers came in and pretty much rendered this thing obsolete in about 2 seconds. And that's the Brother WP1400D word processor. Coming up next, the latest creation from the folks of AtGames. They're doing another emulator. This time it's Intellivision, and it's a segment we like to call New Dog, Old Tricks. Welcome back to the Tech Throwback Entertainment Center, and as promised, we've got a fun one here for you today. The Intellivision Flashback Classic Game Console. Now, a few episodes back, I think like a year or two ago, we did one of the original Intellivision game emulators, and it really, I mean, it had the Intellivision games. It was the actual stuff, Star Strike, Astro Smash, all that stuff. But the controller itself looked kind of like a mashup between a PS2 controller and something for, say, like an N64. So it wasn't really very much Intellivision. This time, however, has changed. Check this out. Much like AtGames did with the Atari Flashback 7, this looks like a miniature version of the console it was meant to emulate. Rather than just having it in one controller that didn't really mean anything, here you have the game deck, which looks like a mini micro Intellivision console. Obviously, these are filled in because you don't have the controller sliding in and out. While we're speaking of the controllers, check this out. These are controllers just like the original Intellivision, with your numeric keypad here and your disc here. I mean, look at this. This is the way Intellivision was meant to be. Oh, and by the way, something else, they even give you overlays. They give you the overlays for the actual games. So much like what you used to be able to do with the classic Intellivision, you basically take this and you just slide it in, and this tells you what all the buttons do. See that? Bingo, bingo, there we go, look at that. That's just like Intellivision used to be. And this, AtGames really got this right here as far as basically not just emulating the games, but also emulating the whole system with the game deck and the controllers with the overlays. That's a really nice job. The other nice thing I like about this unit, when AtGames did the Atari Flashback 7, they actually did infrared controllers. They still had the jacks in the front if you had legacy controllers, or they actually sell controllers and paddles that have the 9-pin port if you want to pay the extra money for them. But if you just use the stock IR controllers, you're just going to make sure you don't hold it in a weird way where all of a sudden you lose the infrared connection with the game deck and you might not have the control you want. In this case, they did wired controllers, which I think is a much better idea, especially with all the stuff going on with all the different buttons and all the Intellivision functions. Actually, the unit comes with a whole bunch of different ones. They've got overlays for Astro Smash, Buzz Bombers, Minotaur, Word Fun, Night Stalker, which, if you may remember from an earlier episode, is one of my favorite Intellivision games. And there's a ton of them on here. But before we get too deeply into this, let's take a look at the Tech Throwback white paper. The Intellivision Flashback is produced by AtGames, based in El Segundo, California. It was rolled out in 2014. The retail price for starters was $39.99. You might find that a little higher now because some of these games are selling out and you only can get them on the secondary market. The Intellivision Flashback includes 60 classic Intellivision games. The system comes with the controllers and overlays for 10 games. Much more are available by special order, although some of those special orders are third party and sometimes they may or may not have them in stock at the time you order. All right, let's grab the controller and turn on the power. Oh, there we go. And look at that. The Intellivision Flashback Classic Game Console. Now let's see, what do we, well, actually Astro Smash is right here, and considering that I've already got Astro Smash loaded, let's do it. There we go, Astro Smash. Well, there we go, there's one. Can I get there in time? Yes! No, I'm toast. So we go over here now. Oof. I do notice that on this, the emulator, well, actually the handset, the controller, is much more responsive than some of the other emulator versions that have been out there. Even the AtGames Atari Flashback 7, sometimes that one was a little dodgy, but this one here is totally fine. And I'm cranking now. There we go. Nice gameplay. This is really responsive. Nice controller. I mean, it's probably still a little less than your classic Intellivision controller, but I'm digging it. Wow, 2 with 1 shot. There we go. Let's go through. I've got 2 lives left. And here come the big ones. Oh, there we go. Okay, well, okay, here we go. Okay, so obviously we just played Astro Smash, and it says page 1 of 6, so we've got 6 pages of games here. Brick Out, Buzz Bombers, Checkers, Chess, Chip Shot Golf, Minotaur, Motocross, Night Stalker. Night Stalker is one I used to love to play when I was a kid, so we'll go right there, Night Stalker. All right, let's do this, and hey, I already have the thingy here. Let's get it loaded. This is Night Stalker, and go. Okay, so basically right now I'm on that little jail thing, and oh, this is nice because the little gun's right above me. There, I've got my weapon. Now I can go out and I can actually take things on here. So you've got 2 bats and a spider and a robot. Shoot up, whoops, nope, shoot upward. Okay, well, the buttons aren't as responsive. Whoa! Okay, I got him. So the disc is okay, but sometimes the buttons aren't terribly responsive, which is why I just got killed there. But anyway, so here we go. Oh, and my gun's right by the robot, so I've got to really book it over there. Okay, let's go, and there we go, got him, and let's get the spider now, too. Whoa! I didn't see him. I was too busy looking for the spider. So there we go. So that's basically, that's Night Stalker, and you know, let's see what else we've got here. There used to be a great baseball game for this too, which I believe is in here. Let's see, it's Slam Dunk Baseball, Slapshot Hockey, World Baseball, here it is. And I believe we do have the overlay for that as well. I thought, yep, here we go, World Championship Baseball. So out goes Night Stalker, In goes baseball. And by the way, a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, some people said one of the most annoying things about Intellivision was always having to search for the different overlays and making sure you had the right thing in. I don't know, I always thought it was pretty cool. But anyway, let's go with World Baseball now, loading. And once again, you see this is the original software. You look at the splash screen, copyright 1983. Players, let's see, let's go with 1. All right, here we go. Play ball. Center fielder gets it there. And he throws it to second. Throws first, and he's safe. Okay, so we go there. Next batter up. Oh, nope, can't get him. So I've got 2 runners on now. And let's go back and do this again. There we go. Strike 1. Nice. Whoops. Nope. Goes right there. And outfielder's got it. Throw it home. Throw it home. Throw it home. Can he make it in time? Nope. Let's see if we can go back to third base now. Let's go back to third base. I had him in a rundown too. Okay, here we go. No outs, bases loaded. As you can see, I'm an expert at this. Goes right past the outfielder. Throw it home, throw it home, throw it home, and whoops, no, he's going back now. In a rundown again. And he's back. Only 1 run scored. I'm only slightly getting killed here. Back here, and that's inside for a ball. There we go. Whoa, missed him. Wow, grounder to the pitcher and everyone's safe. Oh, this is pathetic. Whoa, goes right by him, man. Wow. Well, you get the general idea. That's a World Championship baseball, and my way of proving that when it comes to this baseball, I'm no world champion. Let's go back here and see some of the other games we have here, too. You've got Armor Battle, B-17 Bomber, Backgammon, Blowout, Checkers, Chess, Pinball, Roulette, Slapshot Hockey, Slam Dunk Basketball. 60 games in all. You've got 6 pages, 10 per page. Sea Battle, Shark. Obviously, having the 60 games is nice, but once again, you only have the overlays for 10 games, which means in a lot of cases, you're not sure which button up here to hit. So that could be a liability for the game. Once again, I did mention that there are some third-party companies that have these. Also, there's another option, too. There are actually some folks who have put online PDFs of the manuals and the overlays, so you can even print them out yourself and put them in there. So there are a couple of ways around the whole only 10 overlays snafu. But there you go. It's nice gameplay. And once again, it's the original software. They're not messing around with it at all. This is a true flashback device. The controllers, not quite as responsive as the originals, but still pretty good. Once again, the other thing, too, is with the overlays, sometimes with the plastic, you've got a little more in there. But all in all, a nice purchase. And if you're an Intellivision fan, it's one I would recommend for you. Coming up next, we mentioned before we had different kinds of processing. We already did word processing. Let's do some voice processing now. It's the Yamaha SPX90, our sound idea. Back in the workshop, and we are looking at a sound idea indeed. This is a mighty box. It's an effects processor. It's called the Yamaha SPX90. It's a digital effects multiprocessor, and it does a ton of stuff. It does things like echoes, pitch changes, sampling, all kinds of stuff. And before we delve into this, let's delve into the Tech Throwback white paper. The Yamaha SPX90 came out in 1985 and was distributed by the Yamaha Corporation. Retail price was about $899 new, and the effects included reverb, delay, echo, also modulation, pan, a vibrato, a reverb and a gate, pitch change, freeze, compressor, a noise gate, and a parametric equalizer. Later on, the unit would be replaced by an updated version called the SPX990. In addition, some of the Yamaha SPX technology has wound up in their mixing consoles as well. In some cases, it will say SPX on the console, and it's actually an internal effects device. This truly is a good device. Obviously, you can see the ears. It's meant to be mounted in a rack in a studio situation or something like that. And the setup is truly, truly simple as we take a look at the back panel here. The hookup's very simple. You see here just basically one input jack, two output jacks. So you basically take a mono source coming in, and then you have stereo coming out, or you can just take the left as a mono feed. But obviously, if you want to make the most out of this and get the stereo reverb and the stereo flanging and chorusing effects, you want to have both stereo channels connected. In addition here, we also have remote control jack, and also if you want to connect it up through a MIDI system, MIDI, of course, musical instrument digital interface, if you want to sync it in with some other devices you have in your rack, the jacks are right there to do that. All right, now that I've told you how to hook it up, let's go through the process. I happen to have here two handy audio cables. One of them here is for the input. One of them here is for the output. And what we're going to do is show you some of the effects. We're not going to go through everything because that'll take forever, but I'm going to go through some of the effects that I find either A, the coolest, or B, the most fun. And now that we have everything hooked up, let's grab a microphone and let's have some fun with the Yamaha SPX90. First, we'll go to the effect here that basically says Reverb 1 Hall. So it's basically, it's just a standard hall reverb, so it's a large room reverb. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my main mic down, and we're going to hear what the effect sounds like right now.
Hello. As you can see, it's a very large reverb, lots of sustain, and that's only one of the effects you can do here. You can do a ton.
All right, so let's go looking through some of the other effects now. We have multiple reverbs and delays. Let's see here. A stereo, we've only got mono hooked up here, so you're not going to get the most out of the stereo, like I already said. Actually, tremolo. That's a pretty cool one. Tremolo is like, it's basically kind of a warble kind of thing. So we've got the tremolo effect set right now, and once again, we're going to kill the mic and turn up the effects and see how this sounds. Because we're doing the tremolo effect, and it sounds pretty wild. And by the way, you can actually, these buttons also allow you to change the parameters. So if you have an echo or a delay or something like that, and you want to change the time factor, you can do that very simply. So there's the tremolo. There are a few others I want to, like I said, I'm not going to go into like 1,000 of these, but I do want to go to some that I find are really fun. And we're going to start with this one here, which is pitch change. Now, pitch change will be interesting. And in fact, what we'll do is to do the comparative pitch change, once again, I'll have the director turn down my main mic and turn up the effects mic. Okay, so right now you're basically hearing what should be my normal voice. But if I start to change the parameter,
I'm Mr. Helium. Hey, look at that. The voice is pitch changed, and now I'm Squeaky Man. Alvin, Simon, Theodore. I could start doing like the Chipmunk song. Now.
Okay, now I've got it back to normal pitch so I can kind of describe the next thing. In addition to doing the high stuff and the squeaky stuff, you can also do like the really deep down voices like the bad guy in Saw, or maybe even the Dark Lord of the Sith stuff. I'm going to knock this down a few here.
And as it goes down, Princess, what have you done with those plans? Yes, there will be blood. My wife actually bought me this for my action. Let me put this back up to normal before I tell you the story.
Now, this particular device was a birthday gift for my wife. Obviously, she didn't pay the $8.99 retail. We actually got this used. So I was playing around with this thing, and I was playing with the reverbs, and I was playing with the other stuff, and I finally got to the pitch changer, and I went down, and I did that really low, deep voice, and totally creeped her out. To this day, she hates it if she can hear me using that pitch changer. So I try to do that only when she's not around. So this is one of the interesting effects. This is Freeze B, and Freeze actually is a sampler of sorts. So we're going to cycle through the options here, and we've got the trigger delay, record. Okay, now I hit here, record ready, and it's recording. And we're going to do that again. And hi there, how are you? All right. Okay, now I've recorded a little sample of audio into there, and if we can bring up the effects, you don't have to bring down the my main mic, but bring up the effects, and here's what we get. And when we play back, hi there, 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 hi there. Use like a backing track for a rap and dun 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 dun. Hi there, hi there. See what I mean? So freeze is basically just a little recording thing. And like I said, there are a ton of things in here, and we really could go into a lot of the effects. But some of the ones I find the most fun, I like the reverb a lot. It's got a really nice, rich reverb. The pitch change, that's a lot of fun. And the freeze is a lot of fun, too, when you want to mess with a little sound clip or something like that. All in all, a very handy box, a ton of effects. And obviously, this one's pretty old. I mentioned released in 1985. So we're talking... you know, this one's got some years on it, but it's still performing well in my studio rack at home, the Yamaha SPX90. And that's another look at the way we used to compute and play back in the day. Thanks for watching Tech Throwback. I'm Bill Robert, your host, and we'll be back again with some more stuff that's cool and old school. Till then, take care. Thank you for watching.